Hey guys, this is Pradeep and this is one of the many videos available on www.seleniumframework.com. In this video we are going to see how we can use a helper library for firing up a Selenium grid, and we will also see how to consume a Selenium grid through our Selenium scripts. Okay, so the library which is available to you is called Selenium-grid-helper. You can download it from the GitHub page here. It will be posted on the tutorial as well. So the tutorial is, if you go to tutorials at the top and go to Ruby and select intermediate tutorial, okay, so once you're there, you'll find a section that says Selenium Grid. Okay, so under this section you will find all the pages that are related to Selenium Grid. However, if you already have a context of Selenium Grid and you would like to use it, then these scripts, you can directly jump into the scripts, and README has been written extensively on the GitHub page itself, if you'd like to implement directly looking at this page. So what Selenium Grid Helper does essentially is it lets you have some scripts, right? Scripts as in batch scripts on Windows, where you can quickly start a Selenium grid. You can quickly start nodes with certain configurations of browsers, and you can start consuming it very quickly in your application. One of the major complaints I hear from many students out there who start to use Selenium Grid is they get overwhelmed with the amount of information, the configuration options available for Selenium Grid. So what I thought was, what is it that we really need from a Selenium Grid, right? It's the cross browsers, meaning the browser, the version, and the platform. These are the three things that when we start a Selenium Grid, we need a network of machines that can provide us various different browsers. And we just want to pass our script to the grid, and the grid should execute it and give us back the results. So when we start up the grid, we will need to have an easy mechanism to specify the browser versions what we have and the platforms on which we would want to fire up those browsers. So you can read up this README at length, but it has images and it tells you in detail how this helper library will be beneficial for you. So I'll quickly go over this. The first folder what you've got is called Chrome drivers here. So when you check out the whole zip, I have checked out already from to my C drive, and then you will find the Chrome drivers, right? The Chrome drivers folder would have the same folders that are available when you try to download Chrome driver.exe. So for example, if you go to let's say download Chrome driver.exe, right? If you go to the Google site here and look through the folder structure, right? This is the same folder structure. Now each folder has a different version of Chrome driver.exe, otherwise called WebDriver, right? So why are there different versions? Because there are some bugs fixed, features improved that are compatible with the newer versions of Chrome browsers. So there is a certain mapping of compatibilities between the version of the Chrome browser versus the version of the WebDriver. So what this library does is you can directly copy the folder from the by downloading it, and then unzip it and then place the driver.exe here. So when we fire up the node, we can explicitly select which version of WebDriver we would want to use. This is helpful, right? Because we want to lock down the version of the WebDriver. Otherwise, we really don't know which one works and which one does not work. Anyways, so Chrome drivers folder has the versions of the Chrome drivers which you would like to use. Similarly, IE drivers. IE drivers will have the versions of the IE driver server, right? For example, here 2.43 and 2.44 is the latest as of now on 11th of February 2015. Okay, so going back to the root folder, those are the drivers. You can extend this model by placing Safari drivers if you're on a Mac machine, or Opera drivers if you're using an Opera browser. Okay. The next thing what I'd like to talk about is the Selenium Grid Windows service. Now the reason why I'm focusing on Windows is because all of these tasks are much simpler and easier on Nix machines. I mean Unix, Linux, or a Mac. You can quickly fire up a shell script. You can start a process in background and do all these things. On Windows, on the other hand, right, you would like to, say for example, want to start up the entire Selenium grid as a service, Windows service. So if you open this folder, you'll find a couple of files here. The rktools.exe is the tool which would help you create a Windows service that can kick off a certain script. In our case, the script what we want to kick off, we would like to start the hub and the nodes. Okay, so I've given a quick registry file entries here. So first what you would have to do is install the rktools.exe. Then by default, if you see the reg file for hub, for example, what it essentially does is it kicks off the Java process for the hub. That's what it does. So it is bare bones, but you can always modify this to fit in more configuration parameters, whatever you would like to incorporate while kicking off the hub. Similarly for the Selenium node. So in this case here, what I'm doing is I'm starting up the Selenium node, right, and then starting it on port 5557, and then I'm reading my Chrome driver from a certain location. Now you can change this based on wherever your machine has the corresponding Chrome driver.exe. And then finally, creating the log files here. Okay. So once you have these registry files, you would have to double click each of these registry files, then they would get registered. And then at the end, if you go ahead and run this, right, where this, what it does is, it runs this batch file actually runs both the Selenium hub reg and Selenium node.reg. So actually you don't have to run any registry files. All you have to do is install the rktools.exe and then run Selenium server install.bat. Once you do that, you would have the services registered, and then whenever your machine restarts, the service can automatically start based on if you set it as to be run automatically. Okay, so you have provision here to kind of start the Selenium grid as a service. Now going back to the root folder, what else do we have? Selenium logs. The Selenium logs here is just a folder where the logs get created ultimately. Okay, and then default.json, hub.json, and nodeconfig.json are the JSON configuration files that Selenium grid uses. Okay. Now, before I go to how we can start the hub and node through the JSON config file, let's first see how we can start the hub in a very easy way by just through a command line. So the hub.bat file, this starts the hub. So if I go ahead and double click this right now, so what it does is it has started the hub, and you should see this message what you're seeing here. So it has started the hub on port 4444. Okay. Now let's say I want to start a node. Now when I want to start a node, I need to figure out a few things in terms of what does my node contain, right? So have some helper scripts here. Let's say my machine has Chrome 39, Firefox 35, and IE10. Right now my machine contains those browsers. So I've created this bat file, right? It says start node. ch39 stands for Chrome 39, Firefox 35, and IE10. So I'll just go ahead and double click this, and then it starts the node at that point in time with that configuration of the browsers. Okay, and it picks up, you can see here it says setting system property webdriver.ie driver to the IE driver 2.44, and then the Chrome driver to 2.13, which are the latest as of today. Now you can open up this bat file. Let's quickly open up this bat file. Let's see what's going on inside. So what we do here is, we set the Selenium version, we set the platform, right? And then all of this relates to the Chrome browser configuration settings. Then this relates to Firefox. Similarly, IE, and then this is the hub information which the node requires, and then node. Now here, since I'm running on a local box, everything is all of the host names, the hub host and the node host, both are local hosts. Obviously, if you're running it in a network, you would have to copy this helper files on each of the machines in the network and accordingly modify these host values of the machine on which you are running this. So it might be an IP address or it might be a host name. Okay, and then eventually what we do is we start the node with all the configuration options what we have set here. Okay, so you can go ahead and try with different combinations based on the values of the WebDriver, the platform, the Selenium version, the Firefox binary location, the Chrome binary location, and so on and so forth. Okay, so for now, let me go ahead. I've started these both, right? I started the hub and I started the node. Let's see, that the grid has come up fine. So I'll go to my browser, right? And then type localhost, right? Grid console. Now, if I type this, you can see that here the dashboard has come up, and you can see that there are 5 instances of IE10, 5 instances of Chrome 39, and 5 instances of Firefox 35. It's because in my script here, when I started the node, the max instances have been set to 5. Okay, for each of these, the max instances have been set to 5, so it starts 5. Okay. So now you can see that my grid has been started and it has each of these instances here. Now before I go ahead and consume or use this grid with my code, let's look at some more options. For now I'm going to kill, right? Press Ctrl C and then it kills the window and stops the process. Okay, I'm going to close this. What I want to do is I want to show you how, if say you have got a different version of browser on your box and you would like to use that and register it to the grid, how would you go about doing that? Okay, so let's say I have this. So the first thing what you would like to identify is, let's say I'll type it for you. Let's say you have Chrome, I'm making up some numbers, right? Let's say you have Chrome 30 and then Firefox, I don't know, 21 and then IE 11, right? Now you would like to fire up a grid with these versions. How do you go about doing this? Maybe you don't find your options in any of this. So what you would like to do is take any of the existing scripts, right? Do a Control C and Control V, right? It creates a copy here. Now what you'd like to do is, rename this first to the values what you would like to do. Let's say, as we said, Chrome 21, right? Firefox, let's see, what else do we have? Chrome 30, Firefox 21, and IE 11. Okay. So Chrome 30, where is my, yeah, here it is. And let me go ahead and do Chrome 21, Firefox 30, and then IE 11. Okay. So once I change that, what I'd like to do the next is open it with your favorite editor. Okay. And then go ahead and change the values of the versions, right? Because we are saying it is Chrome 21. So go ahead and change the value of 21. Firefox version is 30, right? IE version is 11. Okay, that's it. And save this file. Do a Control S, save this file. Okay, and now go ahead and start the hub first. Okay, once the hub starts, go ahead and start the node which you'd like to start with. Okay, that gets started. And now if you go back and look at the console, right? you can see that now it has fired up with, you know, IE 11, Firefox 30, and Chrome 21. Now you might ask a question, how do I have these versions when I had different versions of browsers, right? I don't have Firefox 30 on my box. It is true, I don't have Firefox 30, and actually this is not the right way to do because I'm trying to confuse the grid with whatever versions I name it to select, right? And this would be misleading as well. So this is just an illustration how you can start up a node. So ideally you should first install these browsers on a box, then go to that box, you know, download the Selenium grid helper, and then accordingly modify and then start this. Okay, so this is just an illustration to show you how you will have to do it on every machine in the network, because as we talked about, Selenium Grid is a networking concept. Okay, so anyways, so that's how you can go ahead and add, you know, new scripts, new batch files which you would like to fire up with certain versions of browsers you would like to target. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop these two for now. Okay, now going back, I'd like to delete this batch file because I don't want to check this into my repository, so I'm going to delete this. Okay, now going back to my original configuration, I'll first start the hub, right? And then the versions of browsers what I have on my box is this Chrome 39, right? Go ahead and start this. Now let me check that, you know, it has been fired up correctly. So I'm going to do a local host. Okay. Okay, I've got IE 10, Chrome 39, and Firefox 35. And you know, I like to keep this, you know, for now, just keep it as one node. Let's say you want to add another node to this grid, right? If you're working in a network in an enterprise environment, what you definitely have is not just one node, you'll have multiple nodes. So just to simulate that situation, right? Let's say, you know, you have on other machine Chrome 28, Firefox 27, and IE 9. So let me go ahead and start this, right? Now if I start this, it has started, right? It has started that. And if I go here and then refresh this dashboard, right, I'll find another node here with the versions of the browsers I kicked off. And so this is a scalable model, right? You can go ahead and create as many, you can go and register as many nodes as you can, based on, of course, based on the capacity of the hub, capacity of the machines on which you're firing, and so on and so forth. These are lightweight HTTP servers, right? Selenium Grid is a Jetty HTTP server. But still you would want to do some little capacity assessment before you go it. For now, you know, since you know, I'm doing it on my local box, I'd like to keep it true to the versions of the browsers what I have, and I like to have only one node at this time. Okay, so I'm going to kill this second node. So I'll go ahead and do a Control-C, okay, and then close this down. So now I have a grid which reflects the versions of the browsers I have. So if I go ahead and get back to my grid, grid console, right? Now you can see that, you know, this unknown version connecting to refuse connect, it's because the session has been created, but you know, it has not been destroyed yet. Hub will, you know, recycle it at some point, and we won't see this. But anyways, at this point, you know, this is not present. So if I go ahead and, you know, maybe I should open a new browser and check once, right? So if I open Firefox, for example, and type, right, localhost, okay, right, so the connect is still refused. I think you know, the node is inactive, but it's just showing up still here. Let's see if we can do something about it. I'm not too worried about it because anyways it is not present, but still I would like to see if you know, let's refresh this. All right, there you go. See, so the cleanup happens, you know, after a certain interval. Hub cleans it up after a certain polling interval. So I think it was a couple of seconds and it finally cleaned it. Okay, so now back to our grid. So the grid is up, it is running. Now how do we consume the grid? Now I know that the grid has what versions? Let's see. Yeah, I have IE 10, right? Chrome 39 and Firefox 35. So now we need automation suite that we can run against this. So what I've done is, I've downloaded my shopping cart page object framework. So if you go to my GitHub repository and go to my repositories, you would find the page object framework, right? So download the page object framework, right? It has all the information, whatever you require. It has the entire workflow for a shopping cart, right? So I downloaded this and then imported into my RubyMine. Okay. Now once I import into the RubyMine, couple of things what I need to do here. Now so far we have been executing this project against locally, meaning I was not using a grid. I was executing it locally. So how do we execute against remote? Now we could go ahead and if you read online, there will be many forums where they will talk about how you can go ahead and create a remote WebDriver object, how you can set the desired capabilities, and so on and so forth. Now all of that has been already being done for many times. So I wrote up a gem called saucelabs, where this gem, what it does is it helps you specify the browser version and the platform version and on a grid, and from there on it lets you connect to that grid. So what you would have to do to use saucelabs is you can go to obviously if you go to rubygems.org, right? You go to rubygems.org and go to my gem which says gem saucelabs, right? You can do a it specifies all the requirements, right? Gem install saucelabs. So all you have to do is in your RubyMine project, go to your gem file and add gem saucelabs. Most likely if you have downloaded this project, it already has gem saucelabs. Okay, and then in your env.rb you would have to say require saucelabs so that you can include this module in this project, and in your hooks.rb you would have to include this module so that you can start using this module. So mix it in into the hooks, right? Now how this gem works, all of the details is there under, if you go to homepage, right? If you go to homepage here, there are enough number of examples how you can use this gem, right? The way you can generally, quickly going through it is all you have to say is you have to say saucelabs.water browser, because we have been using water so far, and then specify what browser do you want, okay? And then more options if you want. In our case, right, we are not doing local execution. We want to do remote execution against a local Selenium grid. So you can see that this is one of the way you can specify here, right? What it says is, you can say saucelabs.water browser equal to here, the string here, right? This value, what it says is you want a Chrome 35 on a Windows 8 platform, right? Connecting to this grid. Okay, so the format what you would pass to browser is typically like this: a browser, its version, a pipe symbol which is a separator, right? And then the platform and the version of the platform. Now what are the possible values for all of these, right? So you can go ahead and obviously the possible values for the browser is based on how you have launched the node. In our case we have launched a node with Chrome 39, Firefox 35 and IE 10. The platform values, it has already been locked down here. These platform values are the ones which have been declared on saucelabs, and I have added a couple of more here which will be applicable to a grid launched locally. Okay. Now there are other things like while doing a mobile device automation you can specify this, but this video is does not cover that. It is out of scope. Okay, so there are lots of ways, right? You can also specify this in a profile, and so I'm not going to go into details of all these things. Let's just go and see how to execute this at this point in time. So going back to the project, couple of code lines of change. We already had this, right? We set the browser variable in an environment variable called browser. So that's the same, there's no change in that. Now here we have to make a choice whether we want to run the project locally or remote. So what I did was I had an environment variable called where, then I set it to local if we don't have any value. Okay, if we have a value where we say remote, that means I would like to execute it against a Selenium grid. Then what we do is we instantiate the browser, right? We get the saucelabs water browser and we convert the browser value to a symbol, because we already looked at how we specify a browser value. We have a symbol here, right? And then we pass the string to it. And then we specify the grid hub URL. The grid hub URL is localhost 4444, right? WD hub. Okay, so let's see how do we execute this now. Now normally if I go ahead and execute this, right, let's say I like to execute it from command line, so I'll say copy path, right, go to the location of the project, and then I can say cucumber, right. Now by default, if I don't specify the environment variable where, it's going to run locally. So if I do a features, let's say I want to run a confirm order.feature, right? If I go ahead and do this and if I execute this, right, now it's not executing against let's see, unable to find Chrome driver executable, because I don't have the Chrome driver.exe in my path, because my node is setting the it in the path. So I'm not going to execute this locally for now. I know how to fix it, but local execution is not our focus. We would want to execute it on a grid, which is a remote. So how do I do it? I will say cucumber, right, where equal to local, okay, and browser. Now the browser value I would have to pass it as strings, because the command line variables are always accepted as strings inside the code. So I would have to surround it with the double quotes. Okay, double quotes or single quotes. Now the browser value, what do I want to fire it up with? I want Chrome, let's say Chrome 39. Okay, let me check if is it ch39. Okay, it is Chrome, right? Chrome 39, and then the platform on which I would like to execute it is Windows. Okay, and then I'll close this, and then let's say features confirm order.feature. Okay, let's look at this command once again. Let me expand this, right? So all you're saying is cucumber, the environment variable where equal to, oh, it's not local, I'm sorry, it should be remote, because I want to execute it on a grid, remote, and then browser is Chrome 39 on platform Windows, because that's how my node right now is registered. Okay, so if I set this, I'm expecting it to run against the grid. That means I should see activity in these console windows, and then the script should pass. Let me go ahead and execute this. If I go ahead and execute this, right? Did you see that? Here. See that? This is the node, and then it started execution, and while it is executing, we can see the commands are being passed on here, right? Now obviously you're not seeing the output here, because I'm writing it to a log file. We will see at the end of it where it is being logged and so on and so forth, but for now it's executing, right? There you go. So it all passed. Now where are the logs being written? So the logs will get written automatically to Selenium logs, right? Right now it has a lock because this process has started it, but I'll go ahead and open it with Notepad++, for example. Edit it. You can see that it has executed all of the stuff whatever we wanted to execute. Okay, so Notepad, there you go. So it has executed the script, and the script passed, right, with all green here. Now let's say I'd like to execute the same on Chrome 35. I don't have a node which has Chrome 35 on my grid, right? What happens if I did this? I'm expecting this to fail. right? So if I said this right now, right, what does it say? It says, forwarding the new session, but it cannot find the capabilities because there is no match for Chrome 35 on this grid. The grid has only, right, what versions of browsers it has. Going back to the grid console, it has only IE 10, right, Chrome 39 and Firefox 35. Let's see how we execute it on Firefox, for example. So I can say, Firefox 35. Okay. Now I expect this to run on a Firefox browser because my node has been registered with Firefox 35, and then I do have Firefox on my box, right? See, there you go. It's been executing behind, and you can see that the node, of course, we don't see the output being written to the console. In fact, it's being written to the log. Okay, so you can see that it's executing, and all of the steps are green and they're passing, right? Okay, so all right, so that's about how you would go ahead using there's a lot of information thrown at you in this video. Like there is a learning curve. You would have to understand how saucelabs work from a consumption perspective for the grid, and then there is also a learning curve in terms of how would you go about and fire up your grid, right? Firing up a grid is a network concept, so obviously you would have to go ahead and download this folder on every machine which you would like to make it a node in the grid with the corresponding browser versions, and then you would have to execute the corresponding batch file and make up new ones based on the browser versions and the platform versions. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. I'll try to write up more elegantly on the website with all the other details. For now, this is a quick video on how to consume the Selenium Grid helper, which will let you fire up a grid and using the saucelabs gem to connect to the grid and execute the scripts. All of this would be checked into the GitHub. You can go ahead and download the project and change it, use it however you feel comfortable. Okay, so that's it, guys. We will catch up soon again. Thanks very much for watching.